Om Shanti.
Gitte Winter Graugaard, it is so wonderful, as always, to connect with you.
Thank you for having me. It's so wonderful to see you.
It's great to see you. You have been a woman on the go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When you sign up for something big, you gotta move.
Yes, it has been so fun for me to think back on our first conversation when we met in Alicante, which, we've both told that story. I'd love to hear your version of the story. But the version I tell is, you shared with me these beautiful books that ladies and gentlemen, you can see behind Gitte. She's this wonderful international author who's been writing these books for children, first in Danish, and now they're being translated. But when you handed me this book, when we were in Alicante, I thought, this is a self-published book. Like, it was stunning. It was beautiful. It was so, I could feel the energy. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps again. I really could feel the energy and the love and the intention, which I know we're going to talk about intention today. But this idea that you really, really felt deeply in your heart that you wanted to touch children. And you said, look, I've already sold 10,000 copies, which is a huge number. And I want to get to 100,000. How can I do that? And I remember flipping over the book and I didn't see any photograph of you. And I'm like, the book is fabulous. It's got a wonderful message, but you're the messenger. You're the one that's got to spread the message of what mindfulness and meditation and sharing love can really do for children. And if you remember, I said, if I had had this book when I was going through postpartum depression, when I was like, why won't my child sleep? I kept thinking, it's almost like it's your duty to help us parents, and of course the children. But I remember feeling bad, thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I was too harsh. I was like telling her she's got to get out there and become a brand and share this message. But you actually were not turned off by my bold statement, were you?
Oh, you have helped me so much, and I will forever be grateful for you kicking my butt so many times along my spiritual growth. I totally remember that day, and I also remember you looking at me like, so I'm like, so what does it take to sell 100,000? I'm here at 10, but I want to do more. And I know when I get to 100,000, I'm going to ask you, what does it take to sell 1 million copies? And you're like, girl, you got to stop hiding behind those books. And I'm like, why? But it's the book. I'm like, I'm not interested. And I cannot even begin to describe how much work we've done together and how much you've helped me. So thank you so much. And I know you can do this for so many other people who are here to share and spread the light.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is what it's about. It's about spreading the light. It's not about an ego trip like, oh, I want to be famous, which is what I noticed with you. This wasn't about, oh, I want to sell 100,000 copies. It was about, how do we get this message to more people?
Yes.
And so I'm grateful that we've been able to work together on helping you with your media and your branding and your exposure, because you're, again, one of those people that just completely took off and said, I'm going to say yes to the challenge, I'm going to dig deep, and I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And so it's been such a joy to see how the books plural, all of these books that you've written for children and for parents are getting disseminated, and all these press clippings and yoga journals and all these things that you've been featured in. And I'm so grateful that now you're really, as a personal brand, as the author, you're letting us into your mind and your heart about your process.
Yes.
Because I can now understand, what is this, almost 2 years later, I can understand now why that book is so powerful and why it's so rich and why it just brings all of the images to life. It's because your creativity, the creative process that you go through, that you share in the new book that you're contributing to, which is Magic and Miracles.
Okay.
You share this miraculous story about the suitcase and your creative process. And I'm so grateful for that. No, seriously, Gitte, this is something that I think many of us we think that, oh, you just sit down and you have these ideas and you just write and then you hire an illustrator. But what you're really revealing is that through this creative process of saying yes to a book being born through you, it's this dance, it's a spiritual journey, it's a creative journey. So, okay, I've talked long enough. Please talk to us about your experience with the creative process first.
Yeah, well, I've been reading books all through my life, and I loved reading books when I was a child. And I share in your beautiful book, my father was a brilliant storyteller, and he would just read to me, and he would play the different characters, and they would come alive, and I would have them as my imaginary friends, and we would do all sorts of things together, me and my friends from the characters. And I can't begin to describe how much books meant for me when I was a child. And even then, when I was 12 and I took a job at the school library, I dreamt of becoming a writer one day, to open up these worlds to other children, to hold in their hearts. And many years later, I went into high school, and I went to business school, and everything became studying, repetition, repeating somebody else's theories. As I write in the book, I wish university was more about the art of reflection and how to get inspired, how to channel as we know it today, rather than the importance of repeating somebody else's theories. Like my business school was all about business models and, all different kinds of stuff that I had to memorize to go to the exam and get a good grade. So it sort of took me away from my creative path, although it must have been like 10, 15 years of going to school, like really studying like that. And then, as I share in the book, when I had time again as an adult, and I was on one of those crossroads where life was taking me on a different path, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I had all the time in the world on a sunny beach in Croatia where we had moved to. All of a sudden, I wanted to reconnect to my old dream of becoming a writer. And meditation and my interest in personal development, reading Wayne Dyer, Lois Hay, Esther Hicks, all the big ones out there. I read all of that, and I started my own meditation practice. And how this all happened was that in the meditation, I was handed this old brown suitcase, and it was like a token given to me from Source. And when I came home that afternoon, I closed my eyes and imagined putting that suitcase on the table and opening it. And it was just full of light and creativity and landscapes and characters, and everything was just, it was like that whole creative imagination, my whole childhood had been stored inside that box, that suitcase, and it just came out. And I reconnected to my creativity. So for me, there is a big, see if I can illustrate it, but there is this, my whole childhood full of creativity, and then it narrows, then I sort of lose it. And then the suitcase is my token to open up to it again. And that now I can then write from this creative inspiration that has been with me, but was somehow lost in those university years.
Yeah. That your story is so telling for what most of us go through, right? We experience things in childhood that are natural to us, the fun, the creativity, the exploration, the imagination. And then we go to school, which makes us march in a little line and fill it out, this little box. And we learn to conform. We learn to memorize, as you say. And we lose contact with, I also think, it's our confidence. Our confidence that our own intuition or our own imagination is valid, is worthwhile, because we favor just getting the grades and getting through all of that stuff. So I love that here you were already an adult, you'd already been through university, succeeding in the corporate world, and yet you realized, no, I want to reconnect to that part of me that is so alive and full and rich. And so now you're starting to teach people and be on stages talking about creativity and how we can access it, right?
Yes, because there are, throughout the past 10 years writing all these books, I've noticed that there are different ways to go about creativity, and there are ways that we lose our creativity. So schooling is one thing. You also see a lot of people unschooling these days and homeschooling to be able to, yeah, I was just thinking of you, like what is all this schooling, this structured way, the sausage factory, as I say, we put meat, a child in one end, and we have these square sausages coming out the other end, and if they're not completely square and measured in the completely right way, we stamp them as a failure and toss them in the bin, right? What's going on with that, and where is creativity in that? And I know I can get you talking on unschooling and homeschooling. You're living it. So there are many ways in our society that we lose touch of our creativity. Another big one is the focus on the output before the creative process. So at many workplaces, you will be told to create an output so that we can sell this, that, and that, instead of saying, let's get creative and see what comes out of it. So it's been flipped around. And that means that the creative time we have to actually be creative has just been squeezed in because of efficiency. And the desired output is over here. And the less time we have to be creative, the worse the output is, actually.
Yeah.
Another thing is, if you look at this, we have all the social media, we have all the platforms. It's so easy to be broadcast. So once I get a good idea, I might already be thinking about how to put it on Facebook or Instagram. So I see this pretty picture. I cooked a pretty meal. And then my next thought is, okay, I can put it on Instagram, and it might do something about my creativity with that meal or with that book or with that writing, with that playing the piano. Am I playing the piano to play the piano to be creative, or am I playing it because in a minute I will film it and put it on Instagram? So it does something to our creative process that we can so easily broadcast. So many people actually freeze because is it good enough? Or if they don't freeze and they just publish everything like really quickly, they might not get as creative as they could have if they took the time to just be creative without thinking about output.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Elizabeth Gilbert, The Big Magic. I'm totally inspired by her Big Magic book. And I'm sort of trying to figure out what is going on with creativity. And so now I'm teaching this at different workshops.
Well, one of the other things that I love about your, as I call it, your coming out as a teacher, as a personal brand, as an author, as an expert or an authority, if you will, in this whole creativity process and really owning your gifts that were, seeds planted in childhood. And now as an adult, you're really owning it and enjoying the finished product. But this idea that you bring up about how we can freeze because we're worried about the output. One of the things that I noticed with you, we did our first book together, which was Time to Rise, and you shared a beautiful story there, and we got to do interviews, and we've met up in person since then. But one of the things I noticed in your journey, and especially in sharing with our current book, Magic and Miracles, is you're really owning the fact that you have this spiritual gift, if you will, to channel creativity, to teach, to transmit energy. Now, I'm using all of these kind of very basic words, but it's a very deep spiritual process. And I think the idea of you coming out as a spiritual teacher as well, I mean, maybe you don't certainly call yourself that, maybe, but it seems like you're really owning it now. And that's part of the journey as an author, or as all of us in life, to really accept that these are the gifts and talents that I have. And now I'm using them in a way that might have been scary. Maybe it would be scary for people to think, oh, I channel things, I see colors, I see fairies, or I'm not saying you do, but when we as spiritual people, sometimes we go through that self-judgment and fear, and that stops us. So I'm inspired by your journey. How has it been for you to just accept that this is who you are, this is what you do, this is part of your gift?
Well, I think being part of around you and your tribe and other people like you that I also am lucky to be with at ETTG, where many of the writers, authors in the book also meet up. Being around other light workers and just being able to share your truth without wrapping it in a corporate language or being afraid that people will think you're totally woo-woo or crazy has helped me a lot. So getting people around me that understand me and get me and see my potential has been a big help. And you certainly helped me a lot. So I just want to thank you. I don't know how I can ever thank you enough, actually.
You're already doing it by just being you, like full out. It's like I get the greatest joy from that. I really do.
Thank you. And then I feel that it's sort of something about riding two different horses at the same time. And I've done that many times throughout my life where I changed path. Like it's before you go into another transition or transformation. You sort of, you're on this horse, you love being on this horse, but you have to ride this. Meanwhile, you get ready to completely ride this horse. So here's corporate me and here is spiritual me. And in the beginning, corporate me was writing corporate copywriting for companies. And then I began writing my children's meditations books. And the more I can make a living over here, the more I jump over on this horse. But sometimes I jump back because this is my old me and my safe zone. And I think that's where I was when we met. I was jumping forth and back between those horses. And the more I learn to ride this one and the more I transform and the more I awake and the more I develop and ascend, then the more I can just ride this horse. And I don't need to ride the other one so much anymore. So I often feel like that. And I see people when they open up to their creativity, they get inspired because they are also on the spiritual horse, to use that language. And then when they want to write, they jump back in the corporate. So that they can't bring the inspiration into how they used to write or used to make project or used to concept develop or whatever they're used to doing in their everyday life. They have this inspiration over here, but they have to write over here as well, because that's where the channeling takes place. Over here, that's like the school. Like you kill everything over here, kill inspiration, kill creativity, and you want to structure everything.
Yeah.
So we see some of the writers and authors around us, they struggle a bit about how to actually channel it. It's often because they go into this other energy field of their old self and they channel from up here. So it's funny to see, because I see this with my clients all the time and in my workshops, that people, okay, now I have to do it. And then they go back to a more structured way where I try, just play with it over here. Just play some more. Stay creative over here. Don't think about if it's a book or workshop or a course or a product. Just play with your inspiration over here and let it just see where it takes you.
I love that. I love that metaphor and that visual of riding these two horses and being in two different energy fields. That's perfect. And I also love that you are teaching, you're inspiring people, both parents through the books, but also coaching and helping other people, other creatives, other healers and coaches. And so people can get in contact with you, Gitte Winter Graugaard, at roomforreflection.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for this beautiful story that you share, the suitcase, in our new book, Magic and Miracles. I definitely think that you're on a roll. You are definitely on a roll, and I love it. I love it.
Thank you, and thank you for making yet another beautiful book. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. So, my friends, join us in this love fest, in this exploration and this celebration of creativity. Be sure to get a copy of Magic and Miracles. These are 21 real-life experiences from the edges of logic and science. And you can learn more about Gitte Winter Graugaard at roomforreflection.com. Until next time, my friends, remember that you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love. Did you enjoy that interview? I sincerely hope so. If you did, remember to click that like button and share this video with someone else who needs a little positivity sprinkled into their life. And please do support the author by purchasing the book at your favorite bookstore. If you or somebody you know would like to spread your own message to the world, then check out our publishing options online at makeyourmarkglobal.com. We specialize in helping healers, coaches, lightworkers, and other soulful entrepreneurs who want to share their message with a global audience. We also do speaker training and authentic personal branding. I look forward to connecting with you again, and until then, remember, my friend, you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.